Howdy and welcome back to the Bookbindery. Today we're going to be working on a special project. We're going to be working on Andy Weir's project Hail Mary. So much like the main protagonist here, we're going to be working under a lot of stress. Hopefully trying to get this done in a month. We'll see how it goes.
All right, now that we got the old cover taken off, the first thing I need to do is work on some end pages. We're just going to move quickly through this end page making process. I wanted to make something that was more reminiscent of outer space without being too on the nose. Picking from some dark colors here. We got, of course, black, some dark blues, some purple. I also picked out a few different colored pages to play around with. The red here is supposed to represent the Petrova line, but the colors kind of got a little away from me. So I'm definitely going to have to try that again. So I'm just going to quickly make a few different examples and we'll see which one we like the best. Here are some of the finished sheets. So as you can see, this is the first attempt where we tried to get that red Petrova line. And it didn't work out super great. So I don't think we're going to go with this particular end page design, but definitely end up using it for something. I still kind of like it. So here's the next one. And these have all been sealed, so that's why they're so shiny, reflective now. This one turned out a little bit better. The Petrova line. You can see it there. Just kind of loses itself a little bit at the end. So this one's a definite maybe. There's the companion that goes with it. Again, you can see the ripples. So I think this one might be the one that we go with. So quick update. Here was the final end page that I decided I was going to doctor up, make it look a little bit better. Got the Petrova line painted in nice here. Well, I took this and posted it to Reddit to see what everybody thought, and everybody hates it. So apparently the line's supposed to be straight. And I don't know how I missed that. So we have some options. First, we can just kind of go with it as is. I don't know if I remember to tell you, but I was trying to work on a deadline here, get this thing out as soon as possible. Or we can scrap this, start over, and try to go for a straight line. So I guess that's really going to come down to our time constraints here. But while we're looking at finishing the end pages, we also need to discuss some colors for the cover. So again, we have a couple options. One is to hand dye our leather for the cover. So right here is a project that I'm currently in the middle of. This is going to be some Harry Potter books. This is book number 2. But this is the undyed leather. Now, the beauty of the undyed leather is that it allows me to carve my own designs, which ends up looking something like this. And I'm still not exactly sure where I want to go with this book as far as like design and everything goes. Here's a design that I'm thinking about playing around with. This is like just some free 3D printed file. So you can see the wall there. Now I can carve that into the leather. That's going to give me greater depth, greater control over the texture, or we can pick like a pre-dyed leather. Okay, so here's some example of some pre-dyed leathers that I used from some earlier projects. I just have some white and some black, some red. So this came out really nice. This was what I used for a Dracula book. This one turned out pretty good. It's got some good variation in it. But then other leathers like this are just so heavily pigmented, like just the whole thing is black. So it's very plain, you know, versus when I hand dye, I can get control the texture myself. So all of that is kind of stuff that I need to look at for this. Well, ultimately, I decided it would be best to just remake those end pages. I wasn't totally happy with it, and if people feel like it doesn't really read that it's supposed to be the Petrova line, then, you know, the effect's ruined. So here I am, making another set as fast as I possibly can. We'll make probably like 3 copies this time and just pick the best one. Now once we get the end pages glued onto our text block, the last thing we got to do is add some headbands and a bookmark, and the text block is done, which means we can move on to working on our cover design. So I added some gussets to those end pages, which will allow the book to open freely. We'll see that a little bit better in a moment. Right now I'm going to add this tube to the spine, and that's going to provide greater support. And I love this material I found a while back for making those tubes. It's nice and pliable, but it still holds its shape very well. And I feel like it's going to hold up under a lot of extreme wear and use over time. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about the final design that I settled on. I had my brother print out that free 3D bookend. And as I was looking at it, I thought it would be cool to see that same scene, but more from Rocky's perspective, even though, well, obviously he can't see. But I think I'm going to go with that same astronaut that's floating down the tunnel towards the hex wall, with the hex wall reflected in his helmet somehow. And there you're going to see Rocky's hand. I don't know exactly how I'm going to pull that off because it's going to be carved in with a 3D texture, but a reflection is a two-dimensional image, so I'm not sure if it's going to read very well, but I'm going to try my best. I decided I'm going to recess the design, so I'm going to add this little border that goes around it. When I tool my own designs, I use a thin plywood for my cover boards, so that way it doesn't warp when I have to re-wet the leather so that I can tool on it. Just need to do some quick leather prep before I glue it down. And this is where I realized I messed up my orientation. Luckily, I don't think it will affect it too much, but it does make the astronaut feel a little bit more grounded instead of floaty, but at this point, I don't care. Alright, so I literally have no idea what happened here, but as you can see, there's this weird light ring that goes around that border that I added. And I'm devastated because I love the color that I got, but this looks awful and I'm going to have to fix it somehow. So whatever it is I have to do to it is going to end up making it a lot darker than what I had originally wanted. I decided the best thing to do is just go over it again with a dauber, which I don't like because it's going to make it very dark, but it also has a potential of leaving behind these weird shiny spots, which is a similar effect that you get from Sharpies. So I'm not sure if you guys know what I'm talking about, but you'll see it. I'm going to reapply some neat's foot oil to mitigate this effect, but ultimately I might have to add some sort of an acrylic layer in order to completely cover this up. I decided I wanted to paint in this astronaut, and then once he is completely painted, I'm going to come back in with some antique paste, which is going to make all that three-dimensional texture that I added really pop. And there we have it. I decided to represent Rocky's hand, more or less, with that metallic bronze, which does catch the light a little bit more. It's hard to see on camera, but the effect's a little bit better in person. Got the whole book glued into place, which is nice. You can see our gusset is working nicely. Look at that flexibility. Opens all the way, no strain on the book itself. Ah, it's fantastic. Look at that. Look at that opening up right there. See that? So everything's working really great. But now it's time to start looking at titling. Here was kind of my idea. I don't know if y'all have ever seen those stencils for like a top secret project or whatever. But that's kind of the inspiration right now that I'm gleaning from for this titling. So it's just a stencil here that I had cut out on a Cricut. Think about going over it with this same red that I use for the Petrova line here on the inside. But anyways, I think it should look kind of nice. Thank you so much for coming along for the journey. I'm going to finish up adding the final details to the spine. But if you like this project, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with all your friends. I hope you join me next time.